Your blanket is missing one tiny detail. I've added this horseshoe to the corner of my little Western baby blanket, and so I'm going to show you how I added it. So to lay it out, I kind of doubled over my yarn and laid out what I wanted it to look like, and then I mark underneath with just small pieces of yarn into the holes where I'm going to pull up these loops. So I kind of mark it, and then I go through these and make them even because just eyeballing it, sometimes it's not even. So I count how many are between each little marker and make it even. And now we're ready to pull up loops. I start at the top left just because this little horseshoe on this blanket is at the top left. And so if I was at the bottom or in another place and it's easier for me to get underneath the blanket, I might start in a different spot. So we're just pulling up loops to be 2 fingers wide, and I'm going into every single hole all the way down. Just because I didn't mark it doesn't mean that I'm not going to pull up a loop in there, just because then it will be a whole horseshoe and not have any gaps. So 2 fingers wide all the way around. So you can tell that my guideline is just a guideline. You could make this horseshoe as big or little as you would like. But now we're going to secure these loops to the blanket. So you take that second loop that you made and put it through the first, the third loop through the second, and pull it down to kind of be on the blanket, just like this. Go all the way up. And then with this last loop, we're going to make that little, edge that's sometimes on the horseshoe graphics. It just makes it look a little cuter. Honestly, you can leave that off or you can make it. So I'm going to take the tail end of my yarn and pull it up right here. And that's not in the same hole that that loop is in. And then pull it through the loop and then secure that to the blanket as well. And see how it's out to the side just a little bit, just like that. We're going to put one on the other side as well. And I find it looks better if I add this at the end instead of at the beginning. So just pull up a loop right in that same loop that you started at, or that same hole, and then pull it across, but just make sure that it's covering the first part of your horseshoe. Otherwise, it looks a little strange. And then you're going to pull up that tail in the side hole over here that pulls that loop across the top of that horseshoe, and put that tail end back down in the hole that you brought it up in. And there's our little, edge pieces. Then when we turn it over, you can make this look somewhat like a horseshoe on the back as well, instead of just being in the blanket like it looks right now. If you weave these pieces through each little loop, you kind of have to dig at those loops to pull them up, but you can weave them back and forth, around and around through each one, and it makes it a little bit thicker, so it actually looks somewhat like the horseshoe on the front. So right here we have lots of end pieces just because we added that little piece. I'm going to cut these 2 end pieces and make them a nice clean cut, fuse them together, and then I'll continue weaving. And I did not leave myself enough of a tail here to weave all the way around, so I'm going to add some yarn to this piece as well. And just by fusing the ends of yarn together, I'm going to add a little bit of yarn so that I can go all the way around the horseshoe on the bottom. Once I've added that, I can continue weaving this in to each little loop in the back, and we'll just speed it up so you don't have to watch every single one of them because it's all the same. I cut them and then I fuse those 2 ends together. So this is what your horseshoe should look like on the back. And then if you turn it over, here is your horseshoe on the front. If you want those little holes in the horseshoe where we put the nails, we can add that with this size 6 Bernat blanket yarn. And I'm trying to show you the 6. It is a size 6, and I use a darning needle just because it's easier. If you don't have a darning needle, you can literally push this yarn through right here and then pull it up, and you can sew this on with your hands. It is definitely easier with a needle, even a little plastic needle, like a little yarn needle, that will work too. Anything you can get that yarn through the eye hole of. I'm just going to go down about one loop basically, or 1 stitch, and then I'm going to come up right here in the middle, and I'm just going to make three holes. Some horseshoes have 3, some have 4, but this is all preference, and if you would like to add it, awesome. If not, that's okay too, because sometimes you have to tie this. You can't really fuse it to the blanket. So you have to tie these in the back so you'll have little knots. But this is where I come up and down, right through the yarn in the back, and then in the front, and just into the little holes, whatever holes you can find right in here. And it'll stay on there because it's right over the threads there. And then on the back, I just tie them together. So I tie this to the horseshoe part of the yarn. And if I double knot it on top, then I can cut it pretty close. So I do it to the other side, and there's your horseshoe. This is just part of my Howdy Little One baby blanket, and follow me for the reveal of the whole blanket.